Hey guys, this is Jacob here. In this video, I'd like to check my Youga Autobomber build from the last season and how it got affected by the patch notes for the season 4. It is by far the build that got affected the most, so this might be a bit longer video, but bear with me. Short answer for the question if the Youga build will be playable. It will be playable. It is just changed quite a bit, but not that much that it would not be bearable. So yeah, let's get straight into it. The final build did not get changed that much. The build got changed in the early stages quite a bit more. The main change in the build would be that we are losing a few passive skills. We will only be able to use 4, or at least that's how I understand the patch notes. So we have to choose 4 passive skills to keep. If you ask me, those 4 would be Energy Fortress, Frigid Domain, either Magical Source or Frost Spirit, Precise Magical Source. Frost Spirit in the case you can get the mana regeneration speed somewhere else. Precise Magical Source if you cannot get mana regeneration speed somewhere else. And the last passive skill would be Precise Elemental Resistance. If you don't need the elemental resistances, then it would be either Ice Imbue or one of the mana regeneration skills. Okay, the next change is that we have to drop 2 of our active skills here to slot in a defensive setup and a curse setup. The defensive setup, and you need to drop 2 skills for that, so that would be either Origin Unleash and Mana Boil, so you would lose damage here, or Origin Unleash and Speed Phantom, which here you would lose mobility basically. So there are 2 trade-offs. You are either losing mobility or you are losing Mana Boil. Okay, and you are swapping those 2 for a defensive setup, which would consist of the defensive trigger skill, Energy Shield something, Energy Shield. Let's see if I can find it real quick. This one, you will use Activation Medium Energy Shield with like around 80% should be fine. And you would link it with Force Start, this one. And the other important link here would be Defense Layers, only in the case where you decide not to use Barrier of Radiance anymore. If you are using Barrier of Radiance, then you don't need defense layers. So that's a defensive setup with Force Start. And the cursed setup, just to be able to use Biting Cold. And here it depends on how the new supports work. So you can check which supports can support curses, and it would be Activation Medium Elite would be the best if it works on bosses. If it does not work on bosses, then in my opinion the best one would be this one, the Activation Medium Perpetual Motion, which always tries to trigger the supported skill when you are moving. So yeah, those are the 2 main changes. Compensatory Life, still core piece of the build. We are still playing Manastacker, and Compensatory Life did not get changed in the patch notes, so we are keeping it. That's it. Telepathy Expert, hero memory is actually becoming a core piece of the build, because without it, you have no other way of making your space-time illusion consuming your spell bursts. At least nothing that I know of. So this becomes a core piece of the build, and this changes the earlier versions of the build as well. And other thing that might come into consideration later on, if you need more defense and you not need that much damage, means you have a lot of mana, and which you scale into damage, and you need more defense, then you can swap one of your raid wands for the new Glacier Caster Shield, which is getting a little bit of a rework. Glacier Caster Shield is, they are getting rid of the minus 99% defense skill cooldown, and they are swapping it for trigger level 1 to 5 Frost Shield when using a spell skill with a 6-second cooldown. Level 5 Frost Shield provides you with 10% physical and fire damage reduction. We can check it here actually. I have Frost Shield right here, and if I reduce it to level 5, it provides you with 10% physical and fire damage reduction. Level 1 provides you with 6%. So that would be another defensive layer that you can get from the shield. So yeah. And that's it for the final build. Another thing that is getting changed, the Realm Breaking Soul Sing actually is getting minus 20 to minus 30 additional damage modifier. So here might come into consideration just using 2 of the multidimensional soul backups instead of the Realm Breaking Soul Sing, because the Twisted Field provides you with 14% additional damage, stacking up to 6 times. So that's 60 and 24, 84% additional damage. But you have to stay in your Twisted Spacetime. If you are focusing on zooming the map, you are not staying in the Twisted Spacetime that much. So it only matters on bosses. So you might just consider swapping the Realm Breaking Soul Sing for another multidimensional soul backup, which would also be a budget option here. Yeah. Talent wise, I have no idea how the build changes talent wise. I did not find anything like specific that would break the build, so it should still be operational. There is one more change that I found in the patch notes, and that is they are reworking Mind Focus. Actually, they are reworking like this. Mind Focus has been changed from Focus Blessings base effect is converted to attack and spells at cold damage equal to 2% of your max mana. They are changing it to if the recently consumed mana is not more than 50% of your maximum mana pool. Focus Blessings base effect is converted to attack and spells at cold damage equal to 1.5% of max mana. Recently means in the last 4 seconds. So if you would want to like play around it, you need to make sure that you do not consume more than 50% of your maximum mana per 4 seconds to get this bonus. Well, the math here is above me. I would try to balance the mana consumption just to get the percentage from my maximum mana here. But if you don't want to bother with that, you can use Frozen Lotus and just get 30% additional cold damage. The only trade-off here is that you need to make sure that you are not on low mana, actually. So you want to be above low life because of the belt, and then you want to be above low mana because of the Frozen Lotus, but those would be the only 2 requirements here. you are still getting all the percentage bonuses from the mana consumed recently converts to spell damage from the helmet here, up to 2200%, up to 3000% here on the belt. Then we had it on something else as well. We had critical strike rating here on the gloves for every 100% mana shield. Yeah, so you are still keeping the main damage mods on the belt and the helmet, and you would need to swap to Frozen Lotus probably just to, yeah, have to not care about any math behind your skills. So yeah. And for the budget version of the build, you definitely not want to play the Shattered Moonlight anymore. I would just go straight into Elder Sage Regalia or the budget option, which would be the combination of... can I find it here? I'm not sure which one it is right now. Sky Devourer with Pelmist's Embrace Belt. Really early on, but you can find these tips in my in the build progression video I made last season. So yeah, that would be the budget combo here. Boots did not change at all, so you can still use them as a budget option. The rest stays the same. You don't want to use any of the multidimensional contacts. Those were there to be able to use the Shattered Moonlight, and you don't want to use that armor anymore, so you don't want to use any of these. And you want to slot in the Telepathy Expert as soon as possible. So just save your currency and buy that as fast as possible, just to let your illusion actually use your spell burst. What we used in the last season was this mod here, which forced your main spell skill to be triggered when Spatial Illusion was cast in spells. But what they changed in the patch notes is that triggered skills actually cannot use spell burst anymore. Can I find it somewhere? Triggered skill can no longer activate spell burst, so that's the thing why we cannot use this mod here anymore, and we are forced to use the Telepathy Expert. So those are the only changes here. Yeah, that's it. So hopefully this build will be at least as powerful. Yeah, you guys have to try it. I will probably not be playing it next season because I played it the last. So yeah, that's my 5 cents here. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.